I was interested though, Simon, when they played Newcastle the other night, Ian Lederman, well-respected journalist, was saying Ronaldo straight down the tunnel at full time. No acknowledgement of travelling fans who face 150 miles back home in the rain. No acknowledgement of opponents. Does it every week. Abysmal. He's part of this team and should be reminded of that. I think he's got a point, Ian. Ronaldo just turns in his heels and just takes off.
The optics of it aren't very good, are they? Because that's how people view things. They take their reactions from other people's reactions. I don't read too much into it because Ronaldo is a winner, wants to win games, and doesn't take too kindly to when they're not playing well. He's not being able to get involved in the game as much as he'd like, and the team aren't winning games.
Yeah, but does he have to show us, I'm a winner? Look at me, I'm a winner. They're all winners.
Well, this is the same Ronaldo that's probably behaved this way since God knows when, and has had the opportunity not to have to show it very often because he's constantly played in winning teams. He's playing in a Manchester United side that's quite poor at the moment, and he's going through a period of changing the so-called reset of the culture that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer put in place, where you've got a bunch of players that have just got a little bit too much to say for themselves and don't do enough of their talking on the pitch. So all things being equal, Ronaldo would be a sideshow if United were playing well and United were seemingly reacting to a new manager. I think it will take a little bit longer for Ranieri's message to get across. I think you need to get some dead wood out of that football club. People like Martial need to be moved along because they don't want to be there. No. And I think they're also the sort of players that get you the sack or get managers the sack.
Ranieri, he'll be out of there, I'm sure.
Sure, if they can get the right money for him, I'm sure he will be. Ranieri himself, he's got to get his feet under the table and try and get his message across as quickly as possible. And I think what he's doing is he's sacrificing style for a bit of content, which is trying to build a side that's underpinned by certain disciplines that he wants to build as a platform to launch from. Now, should Fernandes and Ronaldo have such influence? Well, here rages the argument. We were talking about Ronaldo coaching from the sidelines earlier on in the season. We're talking about his influence, full stop. That was when you had a lightweight manager in the dugout. Nice fella. Decent manager, but not a Man United manager, not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You've now got Ranieri that credentials-wise isn't a Man United manager, but I think football nous-wise he probably is. He falls in the same sort of category as Bielsa in terms of reputation without necessarily, silverware to go with it.
Yeah.
And I think Fernandes, I've well fallen out of love with Fernandes.
Have you? I like him, but I'm disappointed about the on-pitch gesticulation towards other players.
I think he's been reading his own press for some time. I think he is probably the chairman of the Bruno Fernandes fan club, Bruno Fernandes, because I think he's got a view on how he will play. And when that ridiculous remonstrations with the Watford fans or to the Man United fans after the Watford game was just absurd.
Yeah.
His performances have been not where they started. And maybe that's because, tortoises and hares mentality. But I still think Ranieri will make a fist of turning this ship around United. But, in terms of the personalities, well, look, you've got big personalities in there. You can't have a big personality like Ronaldo and then say, don't have a big personality. He is a big personality.
Yeah, but how about respecting the opponent at the end? The odd shake of the hand.
Oh, well, that's a lot of old.
No, I disagree. I disagree.
You might do.
Ronaldo's doing it to be seen to be doing it.
I don't know.
Sprinting off. Oh, I'm so disappointed I can't have that and run out the tunnel.
Maybe you're right. I don't have enough of a view on it. I don't focus on the end of a game, what people do when they're running down the tunnel or not running down, whose hand they're shaking. I look at the 90 minutes and say who did or didn't. After that, it's all academic, isn't it? Because it's all been done.
Well, it'll be done tonight in Old Trafford. Ralph Ranieri was asked, have United made the progress he'd like them to have made?
Of course not. Every coach, every ambitious coach, and there's no difference between other coaches and myself in that area, wants to take faster steps and larger steps forward. But in order to do that, you need to be able to train. And as you know, we had to close Carrington for 4 days. Before that, we had 8 or 9 field players in training. So directly after the Norwich game, and they only came back in small bits and pieces. So in the last 3 days, we were almost back to full strength with regard to the size of the squad. But we couldn't do that much in training.
See, he fronts it up, to be fair to Ranieri. Of course, we haven't made the progress that I would like to have made.
He can't argue against it, can he?
No, he can. To a degree, it's too early to pass judgment on any kind of progress that he may or may not have made with him. Is that fair?
Yeah, I don't think we saw a great deal from Thomas Tuchel in the first 3 or 4 games. I think we started to see it accelerate. I certainly remember the first game he played when he was Chelsea manager against Wolves. It was pretty turgid. And I think Ranić is right to say that. But when they start talking about the idea that the culture in Man United has been reset so that the landscape is right for Ranić to build off, that's not that last part I've paraphrased. I don't think that's true at all. I don't think the culture has been reset at all. I think if you've had 3 years of mediocrity, 3 years of lightweight management, what have you done? Okay, what you've done is exercise the demon of Jose Mourinho. But you could have exercised the demon of Jose Mourinho within 3 or 4 months, lifted that particular cloud. Don't be telling me that after 3 years of winning the square root of nothing, that you leave a legacy of resetting the culture. What? What have you reset? A bunch of even my best mate Gary Neville called them a bunch of whinge bags. That sound like a reset culture to you?
No, exactly.
That sounds like a reset culture to me.
It was the football director John Murtaugh who told the fans forum 3 weeks ago that Solskjaer had, quotes, reset the club's culture.
Well, he's away with the fairies as well, then, isn't he?
I mean, there's no evidence of that, is there?
No, when people talk like that, you think to yourself, what a load of rubbish. Why would you be occupying a position of any precedent? Because clearly you can't believe that. And if you do believe it, what in God's name are you talking about? Because we've just gone through it, Jim. What resetting a culture like at a club like Manchester United is winning something. Did you reset your culture when you put the bed against Villarreal? Did you reset the culture when you've lost games like against young boys during the season? Well, was that resetting of the culture then? What resetting of the culture we've got? We've got players that don't perform. We've got players like Ronaldo that we've suggested are not necessarily where they need to be. So what resetting of the culture have you managed to do? Like I say, you got rid of the dark spirit that Jose Mourinho was purported to be.
Well, I mean, what should the culture be? It should be a winning culture, surely. I mean, I'll answer that.
A leading, iconic, arguably the biggest football club in the world, dominating on the pitch, dominating off the pitch, having managers that talk not in riddles and in sound bites and in platitudes and in soft lilts, but in leaders. Yeah. And United used to have one of those in the dugout. They're very difficult to replace. As other clubs have seen, Arsenal been through a long period of time where the best of Wenger has not been replaced. You know, Chelsea, well, they're a different model, aren't they? Because they're in and out of managers every 5 minutes.
You always think United should be recognised as the biggest club in the world, don't you?
Well, I just think,
why is that? Because of people like Busby and Ferguson?
I think because of the dominance of the Premier. I think the Premier League has been such a unique product. I know La Liga and Bundesliga have their own values, and so does Serie A. But I think it's undeniable that the powerhouse of world football domestically has become the Premier League. And for United to have been the poster boys for it for so long, they elevated themselves not just from the Busby Babes and the Georgie Bests and the Dennis Laws and all those wonderful players that played for them at once upon a time, and then they had their doldrums in the 70s and got relegated and didn't win the Premier League again until 1992. But their financial power, their brand iconography around the world, I think there's no club like it. I think Madrid have their value set, but of course because of the nature of the language, English as well, which is a dominant language more than Spanish is, carries its value as well. Yeah. But I've always felt that United just have something about them. Of course, we can't argue against Madrid's achievements. Madrid have won more Champions League, so you'd argue that Madrid are or Barcelona are, but it's United for me.
United's bigger than Madrid.
Yeah, I think so.
In terms of brand.
I think so, yeah. I do think so. I think that Madrid have gone on a different policy. They've gone on a Galacticos policy for a period of time. Beckham and Figo and players like that started that sort of evolution, and of course they then became merchandise horses as well as winners. But when you listen to Manchester United and you think of Man United and you close your eyes and you pause for breath and you listen to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for 3 years, you don't hear the same language. Ranić will bring a similar language because he speaks a similar language to Guardiola and to Klopp. Now, whether that group of players, that squad, needs to be pulled to pieces and put back together. There's a lot of highly expensive, highly paid footballers that aren't good enough for Man United in that team, including people like Maguire, including people like Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
But he can't do that in 6 months.
No, he can't. But what he can do is he can set the ship on the right path and start really building a culture. And there's going to be some casualties. There's going to be some bloodletting because these players live in a land where they actually believe that they're doing a good job.
Do you think, in what you've seen already of Ranić, Simon, and you're a good studier of somebody, I know that, do you think he is a guy who will indeed pull that squad apart in 6 months?
Well, I think he's prepared to take, my snap judgment is, for what it's worth, I think he's prepared to take some pain on the quality of the performance, to start installing demanding and commanding certain levels of attainment. It might not be pretty on the eye, but I think before, like a building, you put a foundation down. That's the uninteresting part, right? But the foundation is the thing that keeps the building up and makes it stay up better and longer. He's going to have to do some of this, and this is what Tuchel did, and Tuchel did it quite quick, and he managed to come out of a season after 4 months with a Champions League badge on his lapel. In this instance, I think the culture at United has departed so far from this unequivocal winning mentality that it'll be interesting to see if he can get it anywhere near resembling that to such a level that they have confidence in wanting to give him the job in the summer, because that's what he wants. He's already told us that's what he wants. He didn't come here to be a consultant. He's come here to have a meaningful influence over Manchester United, and that means in their dugout.